yesterday, I guess, we did all of these swatch cards. We put everything away. We broke up some coloring dippers. Tonight, though, we're handling the color order swatch decks. So there is this one card that I still can't figure out. I think I'm leaning towards up here, actually. Like in here. Because I think it's just got too much green for down here. So we're going to test it in that layout. But some of these are definitely going to be broken up. So I do also have this stack of backer cards. So this should be fun. I think, though, to make it easy, we're going to start with shimmer. There's only one. And I want to make this easy for myself to start with. So feel free to chat, ask questions. Really, this is just going to be pretty chill. I just have a whole bunch of swatch cards to put away. The purple ones. And I might, because I'm going to do it for all the others as well, I'm going to do the proper put everything out, which also gives me a second to like make sure I actually like how everything sits in the lineup right now. As it stands, there are a lot of colors. That's still on screen. Do I still have Emerald Gardens? I must. Because like I'm not sure about that spot. Feels too yellow for that spot. So it might get moved. We'll have to see. There's so many colors in this set. And yeah, I feel like I don't actually have that many shimmer colors compared to other people. I don't use that many shimmer colors. I'm very picky about the shimmer colors I actually use. They tend to be like Glistening Glass, where they're more muted, or Mystic Mountain, where they're more muted. I tend to stay away from the really bright ones. And so lots of my really bright ones are pure colors from brands. I did think about getting a bottle of this from Where and Gall. I'm a fan of purples. I find good purple inks, like good purple watercolors, are hard. But I have Moonbeam Meadows, and I like that. So I decided I maybe didn't need a bottle of A Little Princess from Where and Gall. Hello. I don't think I have Magenta Flash anymore. I want to say it went moldy, my sample. I think Violet Dreams did as well. I am organizing my ink swatch cards and putting them in color order. So I have to find the home for this one, which is going to be somewhere over here, probably goes here-ish. So we're just going to have to see where it actually fits in. But this is set one of 5 that we're doing this evening, I think. There are 5 sets this evening. As I sort of pulled my studio back together after a fairly large pen event a few weeks ago. And I always take the chance when I am putting away a bunch of stuff to lay everything out and have a good look and make sure that I like the order of everything. Because like here, I'm not sure that I do. I might switch those two. My tripod's too short. But I can't do anything about that because it's already stacked on a few books. I guess I could go get more books, but that seems annoying. All right, let's see. I think these two went moldy, but let's see what my notes say. Yeah, Violet Dreams and Magenta Flash are the two that got pulled. So I will make notes on the back of those so that I know that I don't have them anymore. Because that's the way I operate. So there's our handy dandy pen for the evening. So this comes out. This comes out. And now we have to find a home for Emerald of Shibor. I want to say it goes there. Does it actually though? I'm not sure. Just feels very teal. So for now we're going to put it there. I'm unhappy with some of these oranges. I don't love the layout. How have I written on the other ones? This way. All right. So those have their little notes now. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that Tom Studios pen. If you were here yesterday, you'll know that I'm like figuring it out for a video right now, which is always entertaining. But let's not do that. I feel like this rainbow always sits less nicely than the other ones. My other ones sit very, very nicely, and these ones just don't. It's Whispers of Twilight, more pink. I think it is. I think that is Whispers of Twilight's new home, which means Wonderland and Coral. I guess it can live there. Then this is the last one. Like, I want it to be up here further. Like, maybe there. Like Veralenti just moving down, actually. If I move it down, I have to move all of those down. Decisions. Just like really, no. Okay, we're gonna say that that's cool. That's cool. Because I think if I had the ability to, I'd just keep moving stuff. Like, do I love this there? No, but do I think there's a better home for it also? Probably not. For whatever reason, I find shimmers to be the hardest to sort of all my colors. They just don't sort nicely. Some of it's because they've got a color shift to them, and some of it's just because They're just hard to sort. Those two are very similar colors. Even in their shimmer, they're very similar. One is last year's color of the year, and one is a new release from Ferris Wheel Press. And those are shockingly similar, side by side. Might have to swatch them out on the same page. There's a couple colors like that, though, that I've gone, I need to swatch you out on the same page and see how different you actually are. I find lots of the Ferris Wheel Press shimmers to actually look different, but every once in a while, there are some that just don't look all that different. I also feel like Ferris Wheel Press has been on a big neutrals kick lately. We've got some really good neutrals from them lately, which I'm not mad at. I would like it to continue, actually. So we'll see what the next couple inks from them are. I would enjoy Wayfinder's Slate without the shimmer. It's a really pretty base color. But I haven't inked it up in a pen because I'm sort of not using shimmer inks a bunch in pens. And so as much as I love it, I haven't actually inked it up. Lantern Crossing was another hard one to figure out because it looks red online, and mine didn't swatch super red. Mine swatched very orange. And so I ended up sticking mine in my oranges collection. And I think it works. But it is sort of an odd spot to stick it. All right, I think up next we're going to do greens. And I think we're going to have to split it into a new coloring, which is sort of sad. Like, I remember when the rainbows started to break off into their own colorings, and I remember feeling sad about that. And now we're breaking them up into even more coloring dippers. Actually, we might not have to. We might get away with it for this last time. All right, let's spread this one out, and then we'll play with some cards, play with some positions of things. I like that there's a card here that says normal because at one point everything was on one card and I needed normal and waterproof and everything to be separated. There, you can still see the color, which is really the important part. It's amazing how much these yellows flare on camera. I would say they flare in real life as well. I don't write with, I've written with Freshly Squeezed Sunshine, and I use the highlighter ink a lot, but most of the others do not get used for writing, they get used for art. I do sort of regret not getting a bottle of this, but I don't use lime enough to justify a bottle of lime ink, especially when I've got key lime from Monteverde and now Colorverse Walk the Dog. Because it kept coming up in 20 questions, and much like last year and I believe it was a Twisby that I came home with last year, this year I came home with inks that people kept bringing up. So I got Colorverse, I got a Faber-Castell ink. This year was all about ink and color, which which I sort of love. If you've been around here for a while, you will know I'm obsessed with color. Color is so much fun and can be such a creative way to express yourself. And so I love getting to explore color. This was a cool ring dipper video I found recently. I actually filmed this video last August, and a friend asked me about it, and I went, oh, I've got a video up on it. And they went, no, you don't. Turns out I never posted the video. So there are 6 videos from August last year coming in the next couple weeks. They're scheduled to post. I just don't know when they're posting. Because a couple of the Cola Ring Dipper videos got forgotten about. Well, not forgotten about as much as I had them scheduled to post, and for whatever reason they didn't post, they erred. So instead, you get them now, almost a year later. I will say, like, that was a limited edition color though, so it doesn't really matter unless you're picking up a bottle on the secondhand market. It is a very pretty color though. I think it is my favorite Robert Oster color that I have. And I was worried it was going to be really similar to Diamine Caribbean Green, and it wasn't. Clearly, Mom has been on a teal kick. All 4 of these inks look almost identical. I promise you they are not identical, but they do look almost identical. I think I've got a bottle of I do. I think I have a bottle of 3 Steamboats, but yeah, it doesn't have sample on it, so it's a bottle. Celadon Cat, which is another favorite color. It's been a while since I've had it inked up in a pen though, so maybe that'll have to happen soon. This has the wrong name on it. I know it has the wrong name on it because I was logging things recently on Fountain Pen Companion, and I had to figure out what the name actually was. So it's Bliss. I wrote Z's instead of S's. And I did it in the wrong pen. Sweet. Hello. Yes, we've got a stack to put away. So I decided, you know what, we're just going to take apart the entire Cola Ring Dipper and have a bit of a rearrange. There's a couple things that I'm not loving the spots of, and we're going to see if we can find a better home for them. We found, I think there were 2 or 3 in the shimmers we moved around. We're also pulling colors of things I got rid of because have I sold inks? No, I've traded inks to friends. There are some things though in the next couple months that are going to be sold just because I'm not using them enough. But I figure what's better on a Sunday night than like sort of getting my life organized to make the week ahead less chaotic. Also, clearly, my best friend / sister has a type. And it's light blues. I believe she currently has Androlian Blue Ringed Octopus in her Sailor. And then you get into my type, which is muted blues. I don't have a bottle of this Androlian ink yet. I need it. I've decided that even though I hate the Androlian bottles, it doesn't matter because they make really pretty inks. Honestly, there are very few things I find more satisfying than actually like sorting out my ink disaster. It's one of those super satisfying things. I will also say I have already taken apart and put these back together once since I started doing Chicago inks, because there's Bloody Brexit, there's Tasha Light Wash Jeans, we've done this once. This is just the Birmingham Pen Company through this might just be samples. This might be the 50 samples. Is it? Yeah, that's what these are. These are the 50 samples. So what I did was I put away bottle swatches already. And these are all samples, which is fun. It's a lot of colors. I sort of treat them though the same way I treat watercolor paint chips, that even when I get rid of a color, I keep them because I like to have a color reference. Also the type. I love muted blues. I just got something new that's muted and sparkly a couple weeks ago from Ferris Wheel Press. Mom did a points order and it's so pretty. And I'm obsessed. I need to put it in a pen. It'll probably be in June's inked up because why not, honestly, at this point. I've sort of decided in the past couple weeks, like, I want to use all the fun stuff in inked ups that maybe I haven't been using because I've been trying to be semi-practical. Though currently I've got Tesla coil and a daily driver, and so what is practical in life? Actually, I think I've got both Tesla coil and Bloody Brexit inked up, which is a fun combination. I need my little skinny notes pen. Yes, I'm gonna run into something. Yes, so Bloody Brexit is in this Architect Decimo that Annabelle ground for me. And then where's my, I don't know where it is. Tesla coil is in my Yinmin blue diamond cast Heinz Penco pen that was in this week's Wednesday video. And that's a pretty pen. I will say the feed in it right now is shimmery. Wish I knew where it was. I was using it yesterday. But if you were over on Instagram, you'll know it's not a pen that I'm daily driving today. Huh. Where did I put it? Where are you? That's interesting. I don't know where I set it. So if I could find it, I would show it to you. Because the feed in it looks, oh, there it is. Looks absolutely insane right now. And honestly, this pen deserves some more love. Here's the pen. You really can't see how pretty it is inside. This, though, is the pink feed. It should be black. It's just currently pink. Because Tesla coil. I also love the posting mechanism. Yes. So I believe this is a prototype. I think that's what Francisco and Jim said. Yinmin blue is a really cool pigment. It was got a whole watercolor video on it. It's so cool. And I didn't know this was Yinmin blue when I picked it up. I just went, oh, it's really cool. And diamond cast just has that look to it. And so I was pretty sure it was diamond cast. When I found out it was a prototype, and it's got the clip and the screw-on back. I believe it's an E24 model, and they've got some other E24s on the website currently. All right, so here is what we need to find homes for. It's one of those really fun things, though. It's like, it reminds me of a super shifting watercolor. And I just sort of decided to have fun with it. Plus, it's cartridge converter. I can always soak the nib in pen flush if I have to, which I probably will. And I'm really just having fun with it. So here are Bloody Brexit and Tesla Coil. Bloody Brexit has more of a sheen to it than Tesla Coil does, which is shocking. I didn't know that you could get more sheening than Tesla Coil until Bloody Brexit. And yet here we are. I also have a sample of Emerald Fusion, which is like Tesla Coil or Bloody Brexit, but green. Funny thing was, it's the actual like pen ink that didn't dry, but the fountain pen ink dried just fine. All right. So these are all the ones that I am leaning towards being in here. I'm going to do a brief flip through of everything I've just got on the floor though, and just make sure I haven't accidentally sorted anything into the wrong spot. Nope, those are fine. Because the last thing I want to do is put all this stuff away and then be missing stuff. That is always so annoying. I'm also finally catching up in the comment backlog. So if you left a comment in the past sort of month, I probably haven't responded to it. I've been busy. And admin stuff like comments takes a lot of brain energy. And they sort of were what fell off my list in exchange for me editing and doing all that stuff. So I'm finally getting around to answering comments, and I am sort of catching up. I say sort of because there are a lot of comments on some things, and we're getting there. Nope, those are all of them. So, okay. I want this somewhere over here. Maybe there. So we're going to do the thing where like you put stuff on top and then I'm going to move stuff around. Because I'm sure that I'm going to find something that I don't like. There. So we can go there. And mom's going to want a bottle of that. Don't know where you're going. Nope. Sure. Honestly, this is like what I needed to like sort of get my brain back in like the headspace of work stuff that like isn't the work stuff I've been working on. It's been a lot of admin recently. I'm not particularly good at admin. Luckily, I have people to help me with admin stuff, but there's been a lot going on, and so I was quite happy to just like get to sit down and go, all right, I'm done swatching. I can finally put stuff away as I like try and pull my office back together post Chicago. Ooh, yeah. So I just got a new work bag. Mom and I were at a thrift store and I found a bag that had like, I would say a bag style that had been on my radar for a long time. I'd been looking for a new laptop bag, and I ended up finding one that I really liked. that was $20 and leather and in like sort of bad shape. It needed to be cleaned, it needed to be conditioned and all that stuff. And so I've spent part of my last week slowly like I cleaned it all, but like slowly conditioning this bag and then letting it sit for days at a time and letting conditioner soak into it. All of these colors look the same. All of these blues look the same. Okay, which one of these blues is that's darker? Is that darker than that? I almost feel like those are moving there with that going there. All right. There we go. I guess I only have to move over a row. Ooh. Okay. Is that what I'm sure of? I think so. I hope you were able to save all your leather stuff. Like, yes, water and leather are a bad combination, but like with everything being dry and then conditioned and everything, theoretically stuff is savable. I would say I'm nice to my leather, but I never baby my leather, is how I treat leather goods. That goes somewhere. You. Okay. I know Birmingham Pen Company is telling me these colors are different. They don't feel different. And I'm sure there are people that feel that way about a lot of inks. Yeah, I would say if you do decide you want to waterproof your leather, because yes, products to waterproof leather do exist, especially in the equestrian world. I currently have a spray upstairs for waterproofing saddles and leather boots, but theoretically, you can also use it on handbags and everything. So if you go to a tack store, you should also be able to find something to waterproof your leather. I only tend to use it on boots, but it does work fairly well with keeping toes dry, which for me is really all I want. I don't like wet toes when I'm going out somewhere. I want to keep my feet dry. Okay. Scoochy, scoochy, scoochy. Yes. Honestly, we've used so many over the years. Our favorite one was actually discontinued during COVID. And now I'm just using like whatever spray on. It comes in like it comes in a bottle actually that looks like a Febreze bottle, but or not a Febreze bottle, like a Windex bottle, like just a normal spray bottle, but it works fairly well. It at least keeps my toes dry. And I think you apply it twice a year. And it's great. I actually need to apply it again to my boots soon because we were gardening today. And I would say my toes were not wet, but my boots felt damp. So it was still doing its job, just not very well. Enough that I like knew, oh, my feet are going to be wet at some point. So my boots will need to be re-waterproofed in the coming weeks. All right. Let's pull these down because I have to fit these two somewhere. Let's say you fit in there. Do you? Maybe. No, I think you go there. Oh, I'm so sorry. Like, that's like grossly wet. Honestly, there's very few things I hate as much as like being wet and damp at something. Like, I just, no. I like my toes being dry and warm. I like how nice my rows were to begin with, and now things are sticking to each other. This is a lot of colors. I think I feel better about it knowing that most of them are samples from friends, and that even then, most of them, of the other ones, like I didn't buy. A good portion of them are Ferris wheel press colors. And so when I look at the ones I bought are all colors I really like. That's fair. You do sort of just like, there's a max point of like just being damp at an event. It's just not how I ever want to spend time. Sure, you can go there. Ooh, okay. 3 left. And I think they're all like in this stretch. Well, some of these Ferris wheel press colors are going to be destashed at some point. I have so many. And I know there are people that are completists. I've never been a completist when it comes to pens and inks. I have no interest in being a completist in pens and inks. I like to collect the pens and inks that make me happy, and that's about it. Sure. It's a weird color gradient, but we're going with it. Is there anything else that I don't like? Is there anything else I don't like? Okay there, I'm okay there. Okay with all of that. Ooh. Oh, it's only 8:40. Oh, I can't go to bed yet. Plus, I'm not done this, but like also it's only 8:40. I think I'm okay with that. There are so many stamp pads. So I was lucky. Right at the beginning of COVID, I bought somebody's entire craft room. And she was I believe, close to my heart consultant or whatever they're called. And so I ended up with so much paper, so many stamp pads, so many stamps. Lots of stuff that I've used the stamp pads. I've used lots of the paper. Lots of those stamps I've never used. And at some point they're going to be sold because they're just not my style. But I was really lucky in that way because I got to walk into somebody else's collection. Partially because it was the cheapest way to buy storage. I think I was actually looking for storage for the studio and was able to buy somebody's entire studio, which then sort of rounded out what I already had going on, and gave Mom and I an early COVID project, which was cataloging somebody's studio. I would say now, though, I really only buy something if I really like it. So I picked up, lots of people have seen it now. Goldspot posted a video on their socials of Tom testing a pen for me because I've been writing for them since January. And I had been stashing and saving my credit because I realized that I had the ability finally to, through this partnership with Goldspot, to afford a pen that I would never be able to afford normally, but that I've wanted for a long time. And I think that's how I'm making decisions about my collection these days, is I am choosing pieces that I go, oh, I really want that. And then when I see them in person, I still have that feeling. There are still odd things that I pick up that I don't have that feeling with. Like I bought the Tom Studio Lumos and Ren because I was seeing the ads everywhere and I wanted to actually test them out for myself. And so I'm trialing them for the next probably month and a bit, and seeing if they can replace my fine liners. Can they? I would say questionably. It's definitely not a one-to-one swap, and it would be very, very expensive for me to replace all of my fine liners with them. Like in the hundreds of dollars. And I think that's important to talk about. So I'm going to talk about it in my video. But it has been a bit since I've invested in a pen. I've got to try out a lot of cool stuff this year, but most of it I didn't pay for. And that's a very lucky position to be in, and I'm very grateful for that. There's some very cool stuff coming from brands. I've got some cool stuff in the house already that hasn't come out. Yes, and that's part of the problem, is that they talk about the Lumos being the only pen you'll ever need. And I use, just from the very basics, every single week, just in my swatch cards, I use 3 different sizes of fine liners. And for one of the sizes of fine liners I use, they don't even have a tip large enough to be that pen size. They also don't have a tip small enough for the smallest size of fine liner I use for sketching and for swatch cards. If I have done the math correctly, it would be, for me to replace my entire size collection of fine liners, I think it's close to, I want to say it was like $500 Canadian. And that's a lot of money down. And so I can definitely see swapping out one size of fine liner if there's a size you use all the time. So I put, because none of the sizes I actually use most were available to put in the pen, I ended up putting the size I use, or the closest size to what I use, which was a 0.1 millimeter. The size I use day to day is actually a 0.05. And so I can definitely see you making the swap for one, but I couldn't see you making the swap for multiple. And it's a very small pen. I will say I did get because I just was testing it for really content. I probably would have tested it not for content, but at some point, but I was really testing it for content. It's not very, this is the mini. The circumference of this is not very large. I sketch with a pencil. I don't know if it's because this is round. I find this so much harder to sketch with than a normal pencil is. And everything, it just doesn't feel as comfortable. And so it has been a struggle. Also, I keep losing it. Because, again, they're tiny, they roll. So I have placed an order with a local shop for the clip or the keyring thing, but also that's expensive. I think it's $16 US for that little clip. Like, that's an expensive addition, and I don't know that I'm gonna get my money's worth out of it, but I don't want to lose it. And so for me, it's sort of worth it so that I don't lose it. I will say I'm using the Ren more than the Lumos. I still don't know how I feel about the Ren. The material of the Ren here is slippery, and so your hands sort of slide around when you're writing with it. But I like the fact that the Ren posts. Like, it becomes a comfortably sized pen for my hand. I will say I wish the Ren was a brush tip and not a whatever size of bullet nib this is. Let's actually grab, I finally have one of these things from Dominant Industry, and so we can figure out what size of nib this is. I think I want to say this is a 1.5. No, yeah, it is. So it's a 0.45 millimeter. I would use this more if it was a brush. If it was a Japanese hard or soft brush pen nib, I would use it a lot more. Or actually, yeah, no, I would enjoy using it a lot more, because then you can get some line variation. I don't think any, oh no, there's a brush option. There is a brush option, but it's quite a, it's not like a Japanese brush pen like a Tombow is. It's quite a stiff brush, and I think it's probably going to be too thick for what I use day to day. And again, it has to go in the Lumos. I don't want more things for the Lumos. I need more things that fit in the Ren. Part of me wonders how different the Lumos and the Ren tips actually are, but I sort of feel like I can't. I always feel bad messing around with something when I am just starting to try it out. Will I at some point maybe attempt to put a Lumos tip in the Ren? Probably. For the moment though, I probably won't. I will also say they take different they say they take different cotton wicks on the inside. I have packages that say Lumos, I have packages that say Ren. As far as I can tell, they're the same thing. They're the same size, they're the same circumference. They look identical. I might be wrong, but at the same time, they look the same. So, I would say my video on Tom's Studio is going to be probably quite long. And there are 2 parts in the same video because, oh, this is way too many cards. I did the whole opening first impressions, and then I've been playing around with them. And I am genuinely trying to daily drive them. And I am putting in the effort to not reach for my fine liners. I have put my fine liner container back on my supply cart so that it is not next to either of my desks. And I'm struggling because the pens that I want to reach for, the sizes of nibs that I want to reach for to do things just aren't there. And it seems like such a hassle to swap out nibs and get my fingers inky mid-piece. So, those are my first thoughts. We'll see how I feel in a couple weeks. And we'll say I'm only 5 days into trying them. And there are already thoughts. There are thoughts. And the video was not supposed to come out until the middle of the summer, but I might move it up because why not? All right, here are pinks and purples. This one is sort of a hot mess. It's sort of the most, I have a lot of fun doing a lot of the videos. Any of the sort of, there's also a video coming up all about specialty nib grinds. Any of those sort of videos are always a lot of fun to pull together, mostly because I get to, in the case of this specialty nib grind video, I got to get some really cool stuff done at Chicago and sort of justify it as, well, I'm planning this video. But B, I sort of get to be really nerdy on camera. And this Tom's Studios video is actually turning into like we all see the ads everywhere on Instagram and YouTube and from other creators, including my friends. And I just wanted to actually genuinely try it. That is true. I could release part 1 and then release part 2 and then combine them into one video later. We'll see what I end up doing. All right, purples. Clearly, I have a type. I do also now swatch everything I've got in a sample and in a bottle, because sometimes things can change batch to batch. This is my bottle. This is my sample of the same color. And there's Robert Oster Polar Vortex. If you need a reminder of what my original Polar Vortex looked like, because people always ask. Oh, where are you? I lost you. Sailor, Ackerman, Cold Steel, Denim, Midnight. Polar Vortex. There's my OG bottle, which was blue. My new bottle's purple. I wish my current bottle was blue. I really like the blue. So, if you are somebody who is selling your blue bottle of Polar Vortex, let me know. I am on the hunt for the blue bottle, because while I like the purple, it is not the color that I wanted, and the blue matches a couple of my pens perfectly. And while I know I can mix colors, I don't love mixing inks. Well, I do. I just am sometimes incredibly lazy. This is another color that I've debated getting a bottle of. It's a Colorverse. If they did, they never told me. The response I got was that there are variations batch to batch. And that was that. So I also I did think about picking up another bottle at Chicago. I ended up not getting another bottle at Chicago, mostly because I had no way of knowing which batch it was from. Would it be the color I wanted? Would it not be the color I wanted? And so I ended up not getting one. I'm trying to think if I got any inks from Atlas this year. I don't think I did. They haven't released, other than Hollywood's Mullet, they haven't released a new ink with somebody in a hot second. And as much as I love some brown inks, I just didn't love that brown. So I ended up not getting it. My reaction to that, their email was pretty similar, which was, yeah, but like it's 2 totally different colors. And it didn't help that at the time, like the blue swatch was the one on the website. So unless they're swatching every batch, they have no way of knowing. Ooh, that'll be fun. So we have the same issue in the watercolor world, where dyes can sometimes just react differently. In the watercolor world, it's pigments reacting differently. In the ink world, though, it's dyes reacting differently. And things like heat or any light exposure or anything can really affect how things react. As somebody that works with paint shops, like I put the polar vortex out to my friends in the industry, in the paint industry specifically. I had come to a conclusion about what I thought had happened, and my feeling was agreed upon by a couple other people, that they thought it was likely from how different the colors were. And so I think what happened was a simple mistake. I think somebody made an error and nobody caught the error. So I will be interested to see what subsequent batches of Polar Vortex look like. And I think I'll pick it up if it's the blue color, because I do genuinely really like the blue version. And I don't dislike the purple version. I think if I had only ever gotten the purple version, I would have really liked it. But I had started with the blue version that I really, really liked, and then I got the purple version. And I just didn't like it as much. This color is always so hard to place. I never know where to put it. It's such an odd color. I can't believe I've got a Bungu box ink. Especially because I bought it not knowing it was a Bungu box ink. I just bought it because I liked the bottle. It was one of the old sailor bottles. And I went, ooh, I like it. And then I, reverse image searched it. Or I took a picture, but then used Google image search. I'm almost out of this. Sherry Sonata, Honest Ink, Straight of Roses, Pilot Yamabudo. Clearly I have a thing for pinks. They just keep coming. They don't end. So some of these during their videos didn't have the full names. This is actually the Gene Kelly version of Raspberry Rain. This is the Brick and Copper version of Canterbury Raisin. And so I've added those even if they didn't have them in their original swatching video. And they'll have them in the title of the swatching video. They just won't have them on the card in the swatching video because I didn't know what their full names were when I swatched them. All right. Well, we've only got one pink, I think. I don't know where you're going. Because theoretically, you should go in here. You will go in there. Ooh. Honestly, I love swatching inks. It's one of those things I find to be really, really zen. But I also think it's one of those things like you either love it or you hate it. And I know people on both sides. I know people who, like me, adore it and have everything swatched because it makes their brains happy. And dopamine is a lovely thing. And then I also know people that like have no idea. So I tend to put the bottle, like the cap back on the ink bottle, and then I balance them like that. And they just chill on my desk like that as they dry. It works pretty well. Because then you're also like leaving it with the ink bottle they go with if you haven't labeled them ahead of time, which I never do. And they also balance on sample files. So I stick mine on top of things and just sort of set them there on my desk until they dry. Ackerman. Yeah, you're going there. I think there's going to be a shuffle. I'm not super happy with where Pop Pink is. Okay. I have so many dip pens that I should write names in ink. I like having the names in black for whatever reason because it makes it easy to just read. Hello. It has. I've not really done much live stuff post Chicago because I've been busy, but I'm finally done Chicago swatching, and so we're putting away everything. Round 2, because I did this again yesterday. All right, there. Oh. All right. Okay. If you can't find somewhere else for it to go, it could go there. Oh, so finishing answering that question. Theoretically, I was going to say I should be labeling in their inks with a dip pen, but really there's no right or wrong way to swatch. I like labeling in black because it means that even if an ink is less visible with a smaller nib, it's still quite readable. And at this point, everything's labeled in black, and I feel like if I started to relabel stuff now, I'd relabel everything. That seems like a lot of work. Hello. Purples. Okay. Ugh. I'm gonna start with just placing things. Okay, Antique Aubergine goes there. That is something I do want a bottle of. There are very few Birmingham Pen Company inks that I go, I need a bottle of that. I would say Antique Aubergine has quickly topped that list. Honestly, this is part of the whole like reclaiming my office, and part of the way I got to reclaim my office and tidy it up is getting all these swatch cards put away and then getting all the new inks somehow into the wall. I don't know how that's happening yet. Because also I've taken over the formal dining room. The formal dining room is full of Chicago Pen Show stuff still. And so that still needs to move back down to my office or move into my office. And so I'm just like slowly working through a list of things, and it's taking a lot of time. But I figure if I get this done, then it's off my list. and then I'm good. I've completed something. Sure, I guess. No. Yes. I hate organizing purples. You're in there somewhere. Where are you? You're in there. Purples are honestly, I can do blue greens, but it's the difference between blue violets and purples and purple violets. And at this point, I don't know that I've got. I guess these are my purple violets. Guess these are purple. These are purple violet. So that can go there. I try and shelve all these things. Honestly, I still use, and I'm about to pull it up again, the Tombow color categories. I've used it now for years and years to organize my collection of stuff. I use it for my markers. I use it for my watercolors. It's so easy. They call pinks red violets. We're not going to call pinks red violets. We're going to call pinks pinks. We're going to call red violets red violets. We're going to call purples purples. Because there's red violet. There's red violet. I like that over the years I've just added more categories. Honestly, I agree. And there will be things that as I flip through, I will actually go, maybe not. Maybe I have shelved you wrong. And that's why I have a brand cola ring and a rainbow pretty one. Because nope, that's very, very clearly a blue violet. You find your home in there somewhere. Yeah, so I've got a full set of cola ring dippers by brand in alphabetical order, and then the colors in those cola ring dippers are in alphabetical order, which is super easy to flip through. And then this is just sort of a mess, but also my mess. All right. Okay. It's something. It's something. It's something. Is there anything that I look at and am offended by other than the purples? But I don't know that the purples are getting better. Actually, here's how we make purples better. We grab the watercolor book and we do some quick comparisons to where things sit in the watercolor book, which is also a hot mess. I'm like stepping over watercolor palettes on the floor. because you better believe I haven't put away paints for tiny trees since March or earlier. So we're in purples. Okay. So this matches. This matches, this matches, this matches. These ones and those that throw it off. It's really the blue. That should go up there. Those blue violets. Red violets. Oh, I actually have red violets into pinks. So how do I have this done? Okay. You know what? We're going to actually be smart about this. And we're going to stick. We're going to stick the non-problem children onto a chain. Oh, yeah, that's how Grandma eats her tomato sandwiches. To be fair, I tend to make mine with copious amounts of bacon and sometimes pesto. But Grandma does like hers with tomato, cheese, and honey. And I think butter. I think you butter both pieces of bread first, which is a very rural, small town Ontario thing. I'm not sure how I feel about the pinks. We might come back to the pinks. There are some that I feel like I need to move. Okay. So, there. Those are out of the way. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sort of. Cool. Okay. I have the Swatch Bible. So, okay. Fun, fun, fun. Whatever. We're rearranging this anyways. Okay. I'm wondering if it's these ones that throw it off. If those gray ones, yeah, they don't come into play in this one until much further along. So, we're gonna go there. What's next? You next? I think you are next. Followed by you. Then you. I like how I'm totally changing the layout of this thing. Pretty sure that's not a blue. Nope, that is very much a red. Cool. Those two need a home. I'm gonna pop in here. Oh, where are we? Okay, when do we get to all the grays? They sort of just get spattered in where they fit in their base colors. Move that. I have to move that as well. Okay, and then start with gray number 1. Oh, that works better. That works better. All right. So both purples are done. Now we're gonna look over the pinks because there's something off about the pinks. Honestly, my favorite hack when like something just seems off is pulling up the Tombow sheet or my watercolor swatch book and like going through and seeing what they have their orders as being, because former me or some artsy person has already done the work and I don't have to do the work again. I don't need to do the work again. So there we go. There's 2 down. There's something up with the pinks though. So we're going to quickly flip through these. Honestly, that's what I love about them being movable swatch cards, is that I can just move around stuff all the time. Like something about those purples just seemed off, and so I took everything apart. And there's something up with these pinks, and you know, I'm gonna look at them, I'm gonna look at a couple swatch sheets, and I'm gonna figure out what's sort of off. I think I know where the issue is. I just couldn't figure out where else to put them, which is always the issue. So we'll see where they end up going. I think I'm gonna have to do this with oranges as well. There's something up with the oranges. I've sort of just been shoving orange-ish colors wherever I feel like in the orange Cola Rain Dipper, and that doesn't work particularly well, I have to say. Honestly, I still can't get over the, as I refer to them, the swabbles, the swatch Bibles. because I have yeah, top. Yeah. This one, and we're going to hit like I'm not there's just something about where those two are sitting that I don't love. Like this is I'll pull this over. Can't remember if this is a 3 or a 4-inch binder that is just swatches, and it is one of 4 that I have for watercolors. This is just mattes. This is just matte paints. I've got a shimmer one. I have a single pigment one for all of that fun stuff. Like these cards are some of the least detailed swatch cards I have, because all these cards have on them is the color name, a swatch of the color, and a dot on them that tells me if they're in my studio palette or if they're like randomly floating around in other palettes. Like this is just my blues. And each of these pages holds 40 colors. So that's 80, that's 100 blues. That's 100 blue watercolor paints. And those are just true blues. I was so lucky with what I got to do early on in my pre-fountain pen career and what I still get to do with small shops that let me have a palette like this and that let me color develop, which I love when I still get to do. I love when I get to look at a color and know that I was part of the process of creating it. And that's always really fun. So yeah, this is all watercolors. Some of it's like some stuff at the front. So the Derwent ink tents are by themselves because they don't play nice with others. But like everything else is just like sheet after sheet after sheet. And it's all organized in the same color categories as the Tombow color tracker, so that it was really easy for me to know where everything is. And I actually really like my watercolor palette starting with yellow. Oh no, these are just single pans of paint. These are just pans of paint. I have my mixes, my palettes for projects are all in separate cards. Are all in project cards. This is all single half pans and full pans of paint. And it just keeps going. Like I have a pan of Schminke Yintico. Because why not? Yeah, I've got a pen made out of Yin Min blue, but I've also got a pan of the paint when you could still buy the paint from people at semi-reasonable prices. I didn't buy it, I was gifted it by a brand, but I think at the time a half pan of Yin Min blue was like $35 US a pan and was close to $60 Canadian a pan. Like I got to do some really cool things, and I definitely don't take that for granted. Yin Min blue is very expensive and so exceptionally cool. All right, I'm putting this away and yet I need it. I also designed the cover of this binder during COVID actually, and I then painted it with all my paints. I really like it. Okay. I bet you I know what those paints all are. Let's pinks. Because you're right, there is something up with that third one. But I'm wondering if there maybe isn't. because if we look here, it does start with muted pinks first before we get into the pinky pinks. So we start here and then we go into muted pinks and then we get into pinky pinks. So maybe it is in the right spot. Okay. I would say my palette is really a mix of everything. My palette is a mix of, for a long time it was Daniel Smith. It was Daniel Smith that I could get on clearance at Michael's in between rounds of lockdown. And so it was this really weird selection of Daniel Smith tubes, but I was buying them for, I think at the time it was like $1.50 for a 5 ml tube of Daniel Smith paints. And so I was buying whatever I could get my hands on. And then I supplemented my palette with White Nights. And then I, over the years, have added a whole bunch of other stuff. Yeah, so I don't have that many inks or paints. I have, we'll say Maya logged all my stuff on Fountain Pen Companion last week because she's an absolute gem, and Fountain Pen Companion sort of makes my head hurt. But Maya sat and did it all while watching a movie, and I think I've got like 300 and something. So I was happy with finally having a record. I've started to log pens as well, just so I've got a better idea of what I have. I will say there's a really cool Fountain Pen Companion-esque site if you're a watercolor nerd. I forget what it's called off the top of my head, but it is super cool, and I always enjoy when I get to hang out on it. Though, of course, now that I'm talking about it, I can't remember what it's actually called. What is it called? I think it's called Under the Brush. Hopefully, though, once I'm done filming pen videos and stuff, once I've filmed enough that people can reclaim the formal dining room table, I can sit down and put away the watercolor palette and have to paint, because there are some watercolor paints that I got all the way back at Christmas that still don't have swatch cards. I have yet to actually do swatch cards for the Cosmic Creations Advent Calendar set. I've got some 31 Purple Fish colors I still haven't swatched. And I feel like I've got some other stuff I haven't swatched. So I do want to sit down and like have a good play. Ooh, I'm so tired. I think this is going to be all I get done tonight. I'm actually okay with that. There are our colors to find homes for. It would really help if I did anything in frame. I forget how short this tripod is. I do. I have it in a sample, and I think I've put it in a pen. I want to say I put it in a pen. I feel the same way about Fountain Pen Companion. So we will get to that ink in here somewhere. I love it and I hate it, and it sort of makes my head hurt to use it. And I sort of don't understand it when it tries to autofill, because it doesn't autofill what I want it to autofill. And it's just a very confusing site. But I appreciate that somebody created it, and I was never going to catch up in my own spreadsheet. So for now, we utilize somebody else's stuff, and we will at some point create our own. I'll just go back to using my Excel because I do like my Excel. I just don't have the energy these days to catch up in my Excel. I would say it's dry, but not as dry as some of the Ferris wheel press inks. I like it. Though I am a fan of drier inks, so do with that what you will. Honestly, I don't mind a dry ink. A dry ink means I'm not going to smudge my page. And I don't have to worry about blotting paper and stuff. I'm far more likely to reach for a dry ink, I find, over a wet ink. Or a really wet ink. I guess I'll still use a wet ink, but inks that are really, really wet, I probably won't use. It amazes me how many browns I have for a hater of browns. I have the yawns and I'm sort of close to being done, but not as close as I wish I was to being done. Oh, and I had a nap today. It's just one of those days. It's been sort of cold and damp all week, but it hasn't rained. So it's just been like a blah week. Okay. I'm not allowed to buy any more colors in this family at all. I never ink them up. I don't use them enough, and I've got too many of them. Luckily, only these two are bottles, and they're very different. One's buttered popcorn, one's citrus yellow. They're very different, but still, I've got another Birmingham Pen Company sample that falls in this range. I am not allowed to buy inks that color anymore. I just don't use them. Okay, like they look, one's like golden and one's yellow. Maybe not. They don't show up very different on camera. They look different in person. Citrus yellow looks a lot more similar to KWZ El Dorito in person. Fair. Honestly, like it's stupid how many of these color I own for somebody that doesn't use them. My only issue with Ancient Copper is its name. I have an entire blog post up on it over at Goldspot that you can read. But my issue with Ancient Copper is its name. Because Ancient Copper shouldn't be the color it is as an ink. I'm gonna hit it at some point. It's in my hand somewhere. It should be like it should have a green sheen to it, and it should be like an aged penny. And it doesn't, and it annoys me. Let's see if I can link a PDF in the chat. I don't know if I can. I can. That PDF. It's available on the Tombow website, on the Tombow USA website. Of course, I have just left a Cola Ring Dipper card out. But it has been, it's my favorite. I use it for organizing all my swatches, like ink, stamp pads, everything. All of my colors are organized the same way, from yellow through gray. And honestly, I didn't know that I'd like it at first. Because rainbows do start with red. I really like it yellow green though, because then your yellows in your watercolor palette don't get contaminated with reds and oranges. I find they get contaminated less by greens, and it works really well actually. So I've kept it as my watercolor palette layout since about halfway through 2020 now. And I don't think it's going anywhere. Anytime I have the chance to set up my own watercolor palette for something, I always lay it out the same way. Ugh. Those two Cola Ring Dippers are going to be a struggle if this is how much I'm yawning already. Oh, and I just dropped a whole bunch of things. That's really helpful. So we are not so far. It's all the smoke from Manitoba and the smoke from Northern Ontario is all going south to the States so far. And then when it's curving back up into Canada, it's sort of missing Southern Ontario. So for now, we're fine. Do I think that's going to stay the case? Probably not. But for now, we're actually okay. But we're about to get the weather that Alberta and everywhere has been having. We're about to be like 30, 35 this week. And so that's when you're sort of like in danger of like sparks from a train tracks setting something on fire, because it's also really dry. And so I would say like everyone's just sort of aware that we're heading into hot. One, two, maybe. Are reds staying together? Are any of these browns going in here? Yes, these two are. All right, let's start there then. And we're also going to chain all the grays together. So I'm happy with the order that the grays are in. I apologize for starting the yawning. Honestly, I shouldn't be as tired as I am. I had a nap. I slept well last night. I'm just utterly exhausted. I was planning to paint tiny trees tonight because I'm not done June tiny trees yet, because it's been one of those months, and yet I don't think that's happening tonight. I think I'm gonna end up painting them tomorrow, because I am so tired. I have a couple coral colors. I really like Sailor Mano Sakura. That's been a favorite corally type color for a while in my collection. And then the other has been definitely Peachy from Ferris Wheel Press. And like we're finally heading into the time of year that I can ink up definitely Peachy again. It's really not a winter color. So I can actually show you Tiny Trees so far. It's Did I think the series was going to go on for as long as it has? No. And my spreadsheet has now become a chaotic mess because I've sold things. So like some colors that are in the spreadsheet for this month had to be replaced with new stuff. But here's a preview of this month's Tiny Trees. Also, the paper that I've been using does not seem to exist anymore. And so mom has had to tape this paper down totally because I couldn't get blocks anywhere. And so mom has had to turn this into a quasi block, but I also like couldn't get 100% cotton watercolor paper for whatever reason. I think we probably all know the reason, but I could not get the 100% watercolor, the 100% cotton watercolor paper that I've been using for Tiny Trees, but also like I use day to day in the studio. And so we're using the Fabriano 25% cotton paper that I also like. It's just not what I've been using for trees, and it's slightly bigger. These are all now over an inch, and that's been a bit of a learning experience this month, and I'm figuring it out. I think we finally sort of hit the point with Tiny Trees that I actually have to go through the spreadsheet and reorganize, do a bit of a cull, figure out what I still have, figure out what I've gotten that's new, all that fun stuff, because it is a bit of a hot mess in there right now. Not gonna lie. I don't know where you belong. You might belong over there. Where does your sort of end orange fit? You sort of fit up there. I don't want you all the way up there. I'm something like, it's been 3 trees a month for almost 400 days. Or three trees a day for almost 400 days. Plus there was a month that I didn't count. So actually we're now over 400 days. It's a lot of trees. I like doing it though. And so I think I'm going to keep doing it as long as I can get the spreadsheet back in shape. Because right now the biggest hurdle, I think, is the spreadsheet and sort of the chaos of trying to actually find usable colors every month, like colors that I still have, because it's just changed a lot the past year. And that's something that I just sort of have to figure out. But it's also like boring. That's like boring admin work that isn't fun to do and also really time consuming, and I just haven't had time to do it. So every month when I paint Tiny Trees, I just also then spend like 45 minutes trying to, actually it's more like, it used to be 45 minutes. I would say now it's close to like 2.5, 3 hours trying to figure out what colors are still okay to use in the series. Like what haven't I already used? Because at one point I was pulling colors from further down the list, but I wasn't deleting when I used them. And so now I'm coming across colors and going, I swear I've done these tiny trees before. And I have, I just haven't deleted them from the list, which is a bit of a mess. So it's a very slow process. I think though this is actually going in here. I don't want you in there. I do. The rest of these though are very much orange browns and will be occupying the orange brown space. All right, we have 5 that need a home. 5, 5, 5 that need a home. So these 2 are going down here because that's your home. I think you 2 are going down here. This is where we get interesting because I think you are going you're up here. I don't know where this is going. Anyone have a suggestion for where to put Birmingham Firebox? Because I don't know. Let me know. Could go there, maybe. I don't know. I'll deal with the others and then I'll come back to it. I'm just like pulling browns out of place. There is no good spot to put forgotten iced coffee. And I know we've already had this debate. I feel like we've done this. We've been there. We've done it. And yet, I'm still having the debate that I don't like anywhere that I've put forgotten iced coffee. The same way, I don't really love anywhere that I'm trialing this ink because it just doesn't work. It's the wrong color to go there. But it's the right sheen. So maybe for now, we're going to toss it here. I don't love it there though. All right, Diamond Firebox. Always sort of hoping something will just click. For whatever reason, I don't hate it there, but that seems like the wrong spot. Those are both so much lighter. But tone-wise, they're more similar. Next to peach. Ooh. In there. Or next to peach punch. So in there. Or in there. We've got some options. So I try and figure out where I want to put root cellar. Peach punch. Okay. Honestly, I'm not mad about that. Honestly, most of these are samples. I'm really lucky to have great friends who gift me a whole bunch of samples of things like Birmingham Pen Company because it's hard to get in Canada. Like this is just Chicago Pen Show, Birmingham Pen Company ink swatch, ink samples. This rack holds 50 sample vials and it has 27 Birmingham Pen Company colors in it. And that's not all of them. These are just the non-duplicate colors. It's a lot of inks, and I am very grateful for any of my friends that enable me to do stuff like this and play with color. Yes, I agree. I agree with all of that. Okay, root cellar. Honestly, I'm not angry about where it is. All right. Let's tidy these up. And then we have one more, and then we're done. We're done, and I get to hang up more command hooks tomorrow because we're out of command hooks. At some point, I need to find a better spot for forgotten iced coffee. This is not the spot for it. I'm aware. I just don't know where the right spot is. And until I find the right spot, it's continuing to live there. And we'll see where its final resting place ends up being. I have a feeling it'll still be with the browns. So I don't know where else I'd put it. But it's not the right, because of how it shades. It's like not really a brown, but it's like too brown to be in with the greeny browns. All right, grays are going on, and then we just have the like random home of lost things left. And we're done. We're so close to being done. Look at that. There is a Galen leather pen box, or Galen leather box, mostly filled with swatch cards. All right, let's do this last thing, then we're done. Custom, 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 custom. That got traded, or sorry, that went moldy, that went moldy. These got traded away. That's a custom. We are so close to being done. I do. So these are both samples from other people's collections, and moldy and traded away all go together in like the gotten rid of pile for me, because I didn't keep them. I will say I do really like Robert Oster Violet Dreams. I was really sad it went moldy, and I will be trying to track down a similar color in a different brand. But I just write on the back that it went moldy and the month it went moldy. So I keep track just so that if I ever like am interested in the color again, I've sort of got a reference. of did I already have it in my collection, and if I already had it, why don't I still have it? Again, if I wasn't lucky enough to get to, in a way, do this. Actually, it's not in a way. If I wasn't lucky enough to get to do this as my job, which is making content on the internet and writing for various pen sites, I would not get my hands on nearly this many inks. I get to do this because people allow me to do this. Nope, that is obviously a brown one placed with greens. I also don't put the traded away or anything in order because I don't care. The only thing I keep separate is I guess I do. I've got the like Ferris wheel press calligraphy inks and stuff separate. Oh, I guess I didn't write on the back of these ones. That they got traded. I did write on the back of these ones that they got traded because I did trade them while I was in Chicago. And so I just needed to keep track of sort of what was going on. So we'll stick ones that went moldy at the very back. I think it would be a good idea. It would be a nice addition to something like Fountain Pen Companion to add something like that. That being said, like everyone's going to have a different experience with ink depending on how well they store it, how well they clean their pens between uses. I am very diligent about cleaning my pens before they get put away so that they're very well cleaned before they sit. And I had heard that there were issues with some of the Robert Oster inks going moldy, and so was aware of that and happened to catch it while swatching. So that wasn't a big deal. And same with the Diamine Magenta Flash. I caught it while swatching, and it was only one of my 2 sample vials of the ink. I had 2 sample vials from 2 different people. So I don't know. I think it really depends on the batch and everything. Exactly. And we like people's biocides to be robust so that, you know, they kill all the bugaboos. But there we go. That is all of the swatch cards. I'm going to have to put up more command hooks in the morning because I do not have enough command hooks up on my desk currently. But I'm finally done. And tomorrow, the adventure of trying to put away ink bottles onto the desk begins because I don't know how it's happening. There's not enough space. I got too many things, and I don't have nearly enough space for them on the desk. But there are some very fun colors. Let me know if there was anything that you want to see in future Inked Up videos. You'll see a lot of them in future Inked Up videos, but if there's a color you want to see soonish, leave it in the comments, not in like the live chat, because it's hard to go back and look at the live chat. And I am starting to like think about June's Inked Up, so you never know. I might take some suggestions for colors because I also don't know what pens I'm using for the month. So the issue is currently I don't have risers for the inks, and so most things are just stacked on a single level. Or if things are stacked on risers, I'm like using upturned pen boxes as makeshift risers, which is fine. It's just not the most effective use of space. And I am sure that there's a better way for me to rearrange the inks on the desk. I just don't know what it is yet, and that is this week's challenge. Yes, the newer amethyst purple does stain. I got some on my hands a couple weeks ago, and it was, like, still there 3 days later, and that was including using ink remover on my hands to remove the majority of the ink, which is always a fun adventure. But there are some. The new Mont Blanc Renoir is really pretty. I think that's going to go in a pen this month because I desperately want to use it. All right. Also, this thing is great. Goldspot had them in their email this month. They were the honorable mention. I've had mine for a couple weeks now. One of my friends actually picked it up for me at Little Craft Fest because I had been wanting it for a while and they were really hard to find in North America. It's the dominant industry Measure My Pen. I'm shocked at how much I've been using it. So if you've been on the fence about getting one, I suggest getting one. They're super cool and they've also, got a straight edge that you can use as a ruler, which I may or may not have done this week a couple times. So they're fun. Plus, they are business card sized. And so they fit. This is the pocket I've been putting in. I'm trying to only stretch out one pocket of my Galen leather. Yeah, this is a pocket. They fit in pockets that are meant for business cards or credit cards. There will also be a video on this, I promise. It is one of those things, like, I felt like I needed to daily drive for a bit before I made a video on it. But if you're on the fence about getting one, don't be. They're totally worth it. I would also say get a single pen pocket pen sleeve because it fits and it's fantastic. And it means that you can then carry one pocket pen, or currently I've got my Lumos and Ren in here and 4 pens. It's a great time. So if you've been on the fence about getting one of the new Galen Leather Expansive Folios, they're fantastic. And I utterly adore mine. All right, it's like 10 o'clock here. It's 10:07. I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to be really civilized and go to bed early tonight so that I can finish filming Tiny Trees tomorrow. For now, though, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. Leave your ink recommendations down below for this month's Inked Up or potentially July's Inked Up. Depending on how many recommendations of colors I'll get, I will just keep like rolling them over to multiple months. And if there's a pen you want to see, let me know. There are a lot of pens you guys haven't seen yet that are, or you probably have seen, but you don't know are in my collection yet, that are coming. And so there's going to be some fun stuff in Inked Up. And yeah, it should be a great time. So thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. Memberships are available, and members on certain tiers do get exclusive content, but it's in addition to the regularly scheduled content. So you're not missing anything, you just don't get the bonus stuff. And memberships help to fund this channel and let me do cool things and go to pen shows. So thanks you so much if you are a member, but also if you just watch ads, thank you, because that also makes a big difference in YouTube paying me, and that makes a huge difference. So thanks so much and have a good evening, or in the case of Shima, a good very early morning. I am so sorry you were up at 3 a.m.